behalf of the entire steering committee, I want to extend our deepest thanks to each and every one of you, the mentors, the protégés, agency partners, and sponsors, for your support, your dedication, and the vision you bring to the program. And it is your visions that help us grow.
Andy Kleiber, I'm from WSP. I'm an area construction manager in our CM group. And I started my career here at Caltrans a long time ago. And I just know that one of the things I loved about working at Caltrans was the mentorship I got there. And I've carried that on into my career, and it's great to be part of this organization doing that.
So it is my pleasure today to talk a little bit about what's going on in transportation in the world, especially in the Bay Area. Transportation is definitely an integral part of our lives. It serves as a critical connection point, linking individuals to opportunities, families to one another, and businesses to critical economic prosperity and needs. For many years, Caltrans focused on repairing and building the infrastructure. That will always continue to be a focus for us. However, we're going beyond the routine measures and taking intentional steps to reimagine a more resilient, equitable, and safe transportation system for all Californians. At Caltrans, resiliency is not merely a reaction to crisis, it's becoming a cornerstone of our long-term strategy.
At this time, I'd like to invite to the stage our public agent partner honorees for this meeting. Artemis Davenport, Program Manager, DBE and Workforce Inclusion, Golden Gate Bridge, Highways and Transportation District. Next, we'll have Jennifer Manna, who is a Business Diversity Program Manager, Analyst at the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. Next, we'll have Brooklyn Moore-Green, Senior Program Specialist, Alameda Contra Costa Transit District.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carolyn Clevenger. I'm here representing the Alameda County Transportation Commission, and I have the honor of introducing our panel moderator for the afternoon panel. So it's my pleasure to introduce Assemblywoman Lori Wilson.
Good afternoon. There we go. You guys are awake and here. I love it. Thank you for having me here at the Calmentor Program 18th Anniversary Award Luncheon. It is an honor to be here with so many stakeholders that are key to making our transportation system run. And for those who were just recognized, congratulations to you, and glad to be in this space with you. I appreciate Calmentor's work to ensure and increase the pool of certified firms participating in transportation projects. We need all hands on deck approach as we tackle our shared transportation challenges together. And as chair of the Assembly Transportation Committee, I keep many of these priorities top of mind, including securing and maintaining transportation funding, emerging technology advancement, public transportation, and the balance between our climate, housing, and transportation goals. Okay, I'm going to give the general question, and I trust, because you all are some very smart and talented people, that you can answer in your own order. So I'm not going to call on the order. You guys go as you see fit and bounce off of each other, and then when that portion of the discussion ends, I'll go on to the next one. So the first one relates to strategic planning for natural disasters. How is your agency planning for the next 3 to 5 years to proactively address natural disasters, such as earthquakes or wildfires, within the region's transportation framework? Don't be shy now, or I will call on you. Go ahead, Casey.
Yes. So I'm with Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority in San Jose, California. We do project delivery, but then we also operate the transit down in Santa Clara County. And so we've been undergoing a major overhaul in terms of how we're going to be addressing emergencies. We've brought on a system safety and security officer from LA Metro, Aston Green, who probably should be here on the panel instead of me to answer the questions, because he probably could go through it in quite a bit of detail. But we're going through everything from top to bottom, going through how many of you know what NIMS training is? NIMS, National Incident Management System. So, and then there's SAMS, which is the California equivalent. So there's tons of training going on When you think about transportation agencies, you don't think about maybe the land use and the land around us, but there's creeks with the flooding, like what the Assembly woman said. And so there's all kinds of things that are at risk for us, as she mentioned.
Yeah, Mike Hoffman with Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District. So I'm going to take this in kind of two parts. We are a bridge, bus, and a ferry service. So if you enter San Francisco from Marin or Sonoma County via the 101 highway corridor, we like to say that we essentially have a monopoly in how you get there, right? You either take the Golden Gate Bridge. If you go by water, you take our ferry. If you go by bus, you take our bus. So with that, we are a self-funded agency funded off of bridge tolls across the Golden Gate Bridge and fares at our fare box, either on bus or on ferry. But we're a bridge first. So what we're looking at in the near term is the third phase of our seismic retrofit project. This is a project that started post Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989, and it's still continuing. This is the largest phase of what has been a long project, and it's going to cost north of $800 million. We're looking to enter into a CMGC contract later on in this year, which will likely include a lot of subcontractor opportunities. So for those of you in the room who are looking for big jobs to collaborate on, this is certainly going to be an excellent opportunity.
Thank you so much. Michael.
Hi, Kamini Lal, SFMTA, Acting Chief of Staff. I want to take a slightly different angle we have a very robust safety team focused on those type of things that my colleagues have addressed already, but how we're kind of tackling it too is on the state of good repair side. We need to keep our infrastructure, which is very much aging, in a good, useful state. We're a multimodal agency, not only providing transportation, but also responsible for bike, ped, and other modes of getting around in San Francisco. So focusing on what we have now and ensuring that it's robust and ready for the future is one way, but then also thinking of creative ways of catching our aging infrastructure up. For example, you may or may not have heard of one of our projects, which is the Potrero Division. A lot of our facilities would not survive a sizable earthquake at this moment, and we need to rebuild those facilities. So right now, we're engaging in a public-private partnership of sorts to completely redevelop that yard, because we need to find creative ways to sustain us for the future. But then there's also things we're doing, like next week we have a Fix-It week, where just by shutting down the subway a couple hours earlier, it just multiplies the amount that they're able to manage our infrastructure right now, and that helps provide the longevity for us to be able to continue providing services if something like this that we're talking about was to happen.
Some of the work that we've been doing has been really looking at how we can integrate resilient elements into capital projects we're developing, whether it's stormwater treatment or urban greening, in terms of the near-term improvements. And then on the longer term, we every about 4 to 6 years do a countywide transportation plan that then helps inform projects that we prioritize for funding as an agency. And we've been really trying to look at how we can partner with cities across Alameda County and our transit agencies to integrate those resilient elements early into projects, so that it doesn't become an add-on later in the day, but that it's really part and parcel of project development along the way. And I think what we've seen in Alameda County is, as you mentioned in your opening remarks, a lot of our most vulnerable communities are those that are at sort of the front line for sea level rise, in terms of either the bay or also our creeks, which are often forgotten about, kind of coming up into the lower lying areas of Alameda County. So we're really trying to look at how we can build elements into projects that mitigate those climate risks, and also help address the public health impacts of a lot of the climate issues we're seeing in Alameda County.
I'll talk about kind of two areas where we are planning, doing planning and activities to address natural disasters. One really is planning. We have a regional long-range plan that integrates transportation, land use, and resiliency. This plan, Plan Area 2050, will be our upcoming update. It actually identifies a large number of sea level rise adaptation projects that are needed to protect the region against a 4.9 foot rise in sea levels. And it's a total of $96 billion worth of projects, not all funded, and this is over a long period of time. But I think it's a really important first step to really acknowledge these projects and bring them into the plan. And these are projects that protect our transportation infrastructure, our communities, and our shoreline ecosystems all together.
We are very active. We have Cal ISA arm that works closely with them, also with FEMA to work with the Marine Exchange, looking at airport and seaport operations. How are we working together as a region to make sure that we can respond in a natural disaster? So when we had recently, I think last week, had a Marine Exchange came to the port. We were there for 3 days. It was a tabletop exercise, and actually that was a result after the incident in the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Maryland. There was a collision in 2024. A few people died, unfortunately. It did trigger us to ask the question. So we reached out to Caltrans, reached out to Golden Gate Authority and said, hey, do we need to evaluate our bridges, our waterways? Are we prepared in case, how to respond in an event like this? So that, I haven't got debriefed on it, but we did have a 3-day tabletop exercise last week. So we are active in that environment.
So I'm going to ask each of you to give a final thought on basically what you see as a trend from your point of view in transportation, and then particularly if that does relate to the work that the A&E's consultant community are doing.
We have a lack of resources, but then, in terms of funding, but there's talent resources, and there's a natural retiring of staff going on right now, and we're trying to grow the next, our professional ranks, right? And so big thing for me is mentoring. So I do a lot of mentoring, whether it's just in VTA or outside. One of the things I tell people is that, I'll ask someone, okay, do you have a mentor? And they'll say, yeah, I have a mentor. And then I'll say, do they know that they're your mentor? Have you ever asked them? And it's usually a blank look. So when I talk to them, I tell them, if you want someone to be your mentor, you need to ask them and say, hey, will you be my mentor? Because I'd say most of the people I've talked to say that they've never had that conversation, even though they have mentors. So I think us working together, mentorship, and working together, private sector, public sector, super important.
But to answer your question regarding where transportation is going, along those lines, it is pivoting. I think the last 5 years, if anything, has taught us that things are changing. I don't think we have a new normal yet, but when we're planning our projects, we have to look at it from a different perspective. I think if COVID did anything, it brought communities closer together. So a lot of our transportation projects might be changing in that way. We won't be replacing in kind. We should be looking at, there's an opportunity to make it better, to make it about community, because there is that shift, right? Why did people move away from the dense cities out to they kind of scattered, the people realigned what was important to them. So there's a change happening, and I don't know if it's settled down yet. I'm excited for whatever it may be, but you guys are very fortunate to have you can build your team, have those architects, those planners, those transit planners, right? I think we have a new coloring book that we're going to be able to figure out what we want it to be. We get to draw it and sketch it for what we want. So.
Just speaking about the pandemic again, we were able to completely throw out how we did schedule planning during that time, and now that's led to higher satisfaction ratings with our customers than we've ever seen. So it's really just continuing to build on that for being able to be adaptable and bring back people to services that they're used to, but also in a challenging environment. But just keeping transportation at the center of the conversation is helpful. So thank you for your leadership in that space, Chair Wilson, and also at the state level, just ensuring our commitment to transportation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that new normal is still a little bit fluid, but we're starting to kind of see where it's trending. And as far as bridge traffic across the Golden Gate Bridge goes, we're down 15% from where we were pre-pandemic. But more interestingly, we're actually down 25 to 27% roughly if you look at those core commuter hours Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. So that's an interesting metric to look at, because that tells you how many people are actually commuting into work in San Francisco. So we've seen a return to rec travel. In fact, that is in some of our areas, it's above and beyond where we were pre-pandemic. So what we've done is looking at our bus routes, we've seen about a 50 to 60% return to bus ridership, but those riders aren't going into San Francisco. They're not taking those longer runs. It's a lot of regional travel. So we're adjusting according to our market and to the demand of our customers to address some of those customer needs that are more regional in effect instead of these longer commute runs into the financial district.
You know, over the last number of years, and I know Caltrans has seen it too, a number of retirements, people moving into new roles, and then also becoming mentors themselves, right? So where maybe 5 years ago, they had a mentor, and now they're also stepping into that mentorship role. And so thinking about things like Calmentor, you know, making sure that we're both looking up and down to make sure that we're bringing more people along while we continue to also proactively make sure our mentors know that they have a responsibility on that end of it, because I think that can help grow not only staff within agencies, but for different firms as we try to continue to diversify the workforce.
I saw of the state's investment patterns through investment made by the California Transportation Commission and how much it's pivoted really quickly, like if within a 5 to 7 year period, really a tremendous shift from what used to be a lot of freeway widening projects to very few lake capacity improving projects. And so to me, I think that's really remarkable because it's a rapid rate of change, and it shows when there's a commitment, alignment, a policy commitment, and and expertise. Really, it's a up and down this multi-layer level of transportation agencies that you really can make a difference. So I'll leave it there.
For sure. Well, I hope you all appreciated this discussion. I know I have. I've taken quite a bit of my own notes to take back with me to, if you guys don't believe me, here you go, to Sacramento, of things that I wanted to make sure I remembered from this panel. I found it helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for you. And so we do get to end a little bit early, so I want to give one last chance. If there was a question from the audience, while we just have a couple of minutes, I wanted to take it. Well, seeing none, we're going to give you some comfort break time. Thank you so much. Please give a round of applause for this panel.
So with that, as the meeting draws to a close, I invite you to utilize the remaining time for networking purpose and to continue the inspiring conversation that had ignited during this event. Thank you again for being part of this special day. We can't wait to see you at our next Calmentor Zoom meeting on July 24th. Thank you.